I built the perfect sequel to The Lost Boys. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of A Penny for Your Thoughts. So, what am I talking about today? I am talking about a potential sequel, a sequel idea for The Lost Boys. And honestly, I am really excited about the idea I have for this legacy sequel, as I like to call it. So here it is. All right. I want to treat this legacy sequel to The Lost Boys like the original with respect, bringing back icons and giving myself a meaningful role, not just a cameo, and also giving others meaningful roles in this film. The legacy sequel that I would like to call it is The Lost Boys Bloodlines. The tone I would like to have is more neon-soaked coastal California gothic, with practical effects, real locations, and a synth rock score. I understand that The Lost Boys is about internal youth versus chosen family, not just vampires. My role in the film is as Jace Emerson. Who am I? I am a former foster kid who is now a night shift EMT slash lifeguard who keeps finding bodies drained of blood. I'm grounded, sarcastic, and skeptical, but deeply loyal once I believe. Why does it matter? Or should I say, why do I matter in this scenario or in this movie? It's because I'm the human anchor of the film. I don't want immortality, I want truth and survival. I ultimately become the moral center of the new generation, the opposite of the reckless vampire lore. I'm not the new Michael, I'm the one who refuses the bite. So, what returning legends are going to be in this film? Well, Jason Patric, who's Michael Emerson, who's older, worn down, never fully escaped the shadow of vampirism, and is a reluctant mentor who knows the price. You gotta have Kiefer Sutherland, who's David, but who's limited but pivotal. As you know, David died in The Lost Boys, the OG movie in 1987. He's not resurrected cheaply, but he appears through visions, myth, or cult-like legend. And at the end of the day, despite that, he's still terrifying, he's still charismatic, and still is the devil on your shoulder. If we're gonna bring back returning legends, you're going to have to bring back Corey Feldman. He's Edgar Frog in The Lost Boys. He's older, he's sharper, he's still paranoid, and he will treat you with suspicion until you earn his respect. And finally, you got to bring back Jamie Gertz, who plays Star, the love interest of Michael. She's now living under a new identity and knows more about the vampire hierarchy than anyone realizes. So, if you're going to bring back the returning legends, you also got to bring in some, new blood, like the next generation of big stars, like Maya Hawke. She's the new vampire leader. She's cool, poetic, dangerous, and believes vampirism is evolution. You also have to bring in a newcomer like Zolo Mariduena, who's a conflicted half-turned recruit, who mirrors Michael's journey but with higher stakes. And how about Jenna Ortega as a goth hacker slash historian of Santa Carla's disappearances? She finds me first and trusts me last. The biggest antagonist of the film, though, is Bill Skarsgård as the first son. He's not the head vampire, but he's older than David. He treats immortality like performance art. And you might be asking yourself, why am I self-praising myself? Why am I saying that I'm going to be the main character in this film? Why do I work in this film? I'm not chasing the vampire aesthetic. I challenge it. My character forces the film to ask, is staying human an act of courage? By the end, the vampires will fear me. Not because I'm supernatural, but because I can end the cycle. The final shot, is Santa Carla Boardwalk at dawn, with Michael watching the sunrise from a distance. And I walk into the light. The tagline, it's never just a phase. Now, hearing all this, you probably want to know, what is the full cast? Well, let me tell you the full cast. On the male side, you got myself as Jace Emerson, who's the human lead, the AMT/lifeguard, who's the moral backbone of the film. I'm smart, grounded, resistant to vampiric temptation. The audience is way in. You got Jason Patric as Michael Emerson. He's the haunted survivor of the original. He knows the rules, broke some, and regrets all of them. You got Kiefer Sutherland as David. He appears through visions, cult myths, or psychic echoes. He's still seductive, still evil, and still unforgettable. Corey Feldman as Edgar Frog. He's older, sharper, more dangerous. He treats vampires like a long-term war. Bill Skarsgård, the first son, ancient vampire aristocrat. He views immortality as art and domination as culture. Zola Maradona as Rafael Rafe Cruz, half-turned vampire struggling to stay human, and bonds with Jace mirrors Michael's past. Alexander Ludwig as Caleb Vane, a brutal enforcer vampire who believes fear is the only order. Jacob Elordi as Ash, pretty, cruel, a nihilistic young vampire who represents the seductive lie of eternal youth. Giancarlo Esposito, who is Father Morado, a vampire historian / occult power broker who knows secrets even if Edgar Frog doesn't. And Walton Goggins as Sheriff Harlan Pike, who knows something is wrong in Santa Carla and is deciding whether to profit or survive. For the women, you got Jamie Gertz as Star, who's living under a new identity and knows the cost of immortality better than anyone. Maya Hawke as Violet, a new vampire leader who's charismatic, philosophical, and terrifyingly calm. Jenna Ortega as Luna Reyes, a goth hacker / conspiracy archivist who is first to uncover the vampire resurgence. Saoirse Ronan as Maeve, ancient vampire disguised as a drifter, older than David, wiser than most. Anya Taylor-Joy as Felicity, a vampiric socialite manipulating influencers and nightlife, turns culture into a feeding room. Zoe Kravitz as Dr. Nix Monroe, who's an underground doctor who treats both humans and vampires, but is morally gray but deeply necessary. Kiernan Shipka as Evelyn, a recently turned vampire who's still clinging to her humanity, barely. Rosario Dawson as Detective Valeria Cruz, who is investigating disappearances and is Rafe's estranged aunt, unwillingly pulled into the truth. And Hunter Schafer as Nova, a gender-fluid vampire mystic who sees vampirism as transcendence, not curse. Now, the balance of the film, of course, is humans with myself, Edgar, Detective Cruz, and Star, the in-between being Michael, Rafe, and Dr. Nix, and the vampires being David's legacy cult, Violet's New Order, and, of course, the first son. This movie isn't about who's strongest. It's about who refuses to become a monster. Now, because it's The Lost Boys, I have to think of a soundtrack for this film, and I created a soundtrack. And honestly, it's a balance of 80s DNA plus modern angst. And honestly, I'm pretty proud with the songs I picked. And I put it in a scene-by-scene placement, alright? For the opening credits, A Santa Carla at Night, I have Cry Little Sister by Gerard McMahon. Think of like a slow push over the boardwalk, which establishes myth, nostalgia, danger, a chef's kiss choice. Then you think of the first boardwalk chaos, the vampire introduction. The song Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard plays. It's loud, reckless, seductive. It makes vampirism look like a party, which is a lie. Then you think of the motorcycle ride. New vampires tempting the protagonist, and you think of the song Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes. It's the perfect you don't belong unless you join us energy. Irony hits hard lyrically. And then, of course, then you get to the part of the film where you realize something is wrong. The song Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult plays. It's calm dread, existential, great for a night drive or a quiet horror reveal. As you get to the midway point of the film, things start to escalate, and the first real kill happens. Animal I Have Become by 3 Days Grace plays. That signals the turning point. The monster isn't metaphorical anymore. As you experience the fallout, you start to experience regret and a character breakdown. Never Too Late by 3 Days Grace plays. Human pain after supernatural violence, especially strong for my character resisting the bite. So as you prepare for the montage, weapons, traps, plans as you get prepared for the final battle, Renegade by Styx plays, old school swagger, righteous anger, Edgar Frog energy all over it. And then the full-on assault of the vampires. Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. Chaos, speed, loss of control, feels dangerous, not heroic. And then you have the second wind fight. The tide turning the tables. Rock of Ages by Def Leppard plays. It's loud, mythic, and it's got this we might survive this energy. And you have the moment of false victory. The aftermath of the nightclub. Nothing But a Good Time by Poison plays. The party resumes, but something feels off. Vampires don't learn. You get to an emotional low point and you start confessing. Broken by Seether featuring Amy Lee will play. Raw, intimate, haunted. This is where the movie earns its heart. And then the final choice. As dawn approaches, It's Not Over by Daughtry will play. Redemption Without Erasing the Damage. The perfect lead-in to Sunrise. At the end credits, the instrumental to Cry Little Sister will play. It brings the whole thing full circle, and the myth never dies. This identity for the soundtrack is that vampirism is seductive, immortality is loud, and humanity is painful but worth it. That's my idea for the Lost Boys. Bloodlines, as I like to call it. Lost Boys Bloodlines. I hope you like this idea. I just want a Lost Boys sequel, to be completely honest with you. So with that being said, that is all for the episode of A Penny for Your Thoughts. Until the next episode, see ya.